4:13. Take tight hold of instruction. Don't let her go. Keep her, for she is your life. Instruction is important, but if it isn't godly instruction, then it isn't something necessarily we should listen to. God is one of the few who wants the best from us. Okay, John 11:49 through 54. But a certain one of them, Caiaphas, being a high priest that year, said unto them, ye know nothing at all. Okay, because of his ignorance of who Christ was. And he was blinded in all his decisions. Of course they knew something, but they didn't know what they needed to know. And neither did Caiaphas. Now, why it says high priest that year is because high priest, there was a certain list of Aaron, and sons of Aaron were all listed as high priests. By the time of the New Testament, the sons of Aaron were many families, because it's been many years. So, what they would do is they'd select a high priest from one of the families. He'd work a year. The next year, they'd have a different high priest. We also see this with John the Baptist's father earlier in the book of Luke. We see it. So they would just have a time to do it, because there were so many who could live this option. They would do it for a year, and then they'd serve other ways. The rest of the time, just not as high priest. Most of them would serve in the city of refuge, which at this time may have not been happening. Okay, verse 50. Nor do we take account that it is expedient for you that one man should die for the people, and the whole nation perish not. Christ died for all. He's one man that died for all. And those who accept him will avoid perishing in hell. But those who reject him, even though he died, because they do not have him, will die in hell as well. It took one man to die for all, but that one man was God. There's something the thing that was special about Christ was something they couldn't pick up about him. There was a reason why men were following Christ. There was a reason why he's being able to do all these miracles, because he's God in the flesh, and he came to die. This is none of this they realized. They viewed him as a troublemaker. Verse 51. Now this he said, not of himself, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus should die for the nation. Now, it shows that God's still able to use people who are in rebellion, because this was true. Jesus would die so the nation should be spared. Fortunately, it isn't probably what the high priest thought when the words came out of his mouth. It had nothing to do with sparing him of Rome's fury, because years later, Rome would attack Jerusalem, burning down the temple. And Christ told them the destruction of the temple would happen. So, while they're thinking, well, he dies, we're spared from Rome. No, it was spiritual. They were saved from judgment because of Christ, if they receive him. and not for the nation only, but that he might also gather together into one the children of God that scatter abroad. Now this refers to the other Jews, but also refers to the Gentiles. Christ died for all who receive him. The thing is, if we don't come to him, if we don't receive him, we're spared from nothing. We'll face full judgment. But if we come to him, we're spared because he died in our place. So from that day forth, they took counsel that they might put him to death. Okay, even after the Spirit and the Word came upon Caiaphas here, they still want to put Jesus to death. They may want to more now. They're still looking at it as a physical thing instead of spiritual. Well, we put him to death. Rome's no other problem. No. Christ didn't die so Rome wouldn't be a problem. Christ didn't die so things of this physical earth wouldn't be a problem. Christ died for the spiritual. Verse 54. Jesus therefore walked no more openly among the Jews. This was up until Passover. But departed thence into the country, into the wilderness, into a city called Ephraim, and there tarried with his disciples. You know, his disciples were the only group that never deserted him. This may be why he wanted to get that final teaching in before he left, that teaching that would not have them scattered off, you know, the teaching that would keep them there till he came back, the teaching that would spare them from doing rash decisions while he was gone and before he returned. You know, sometimes the Lord wants us to get away from other people. And sometimes he takes us away from other people just so we can learn just from him. Sometimes the church has its place, but sometimes he wants us to isolate ourselves and have more of a one-on-one time with him. If we're going to church yet we're missing the one-on-one time, we're missing out on part of what Christ wants from us. Gathering together with believers is important, but if we don't take time to gather ourselves, just us and God, we're missing out. Jesus took this time with his disciples here because his time is almost to come, his death. They needed